Hi, this is Chris, and we're talking about part two of the Aruba Nektarine kind of in-depth view. The first part was just a little bit of an introduction to it all. This part, we're just going to go a little bit deeper into the drum part of Aruba, which for me is what it's all about. I'm not so much of a sample player. I did my years using DMXs and drum emulators and all the rest of that sort of stuff. Had a TR-606 many years ago. But I like electronic drums, and I spend a lot of time programming Simmons, etc., etc. And I have Ali James's Simmons plug-in these days, which is a nice version of the whole thing. But when we're talking about Aruba and Nektarine, there are four basic drum modules available, or plugins if you want to call them that, because they're plugins in Nektarine. The DP1 is a sample player, and what I've loaded here is the 909 kit, and so the real cymbals with the kind of electronic style drums. But nicely put together, nicely recorded sounds, and very effective from that point of view. When you're dealing with this layout that you can see on screen at the moment, this is the pad layout, which means you've got a visual of all 16 pads available to you. And if you wanted to work on a specific individual plugin, for example, you can see down here that the DP1 is loaded, as you can see on all of them. And if you want to jump over to the rack will allow you to jump into all of these individual bits and pieces. So it's color-coded, so you can see I've got 3 snares here, which means the DP1 will be color-coded as this orange color as well, which is a nice little feature. If you start messing around with the drum sounds as such, I'll give it a bit more of a volume boost there so you can actually hear it in action. When you're dealing with an individual drum sound with this much control, you can see you've got EQ control, you've got pitch, attack, decay, slope, an envelope control, a drive amount, the cutoff frequency and resonance. This is all part of the filter. Your 1982 mode, which I mentioned in the previous video, where you can actually turn that on and change the sample rate down so that it sounds more like something from the 70s or 80s as far as drums go. And you've got a compressor, you've got a 3-band EQ, you've got your individual volume control of this particular snare drum, so you can give it a kick just there if you want. And then you've got control over other bits and pieces. Pressure, not so much for this particular drum, but controls over all of this. This is just one drum we're talking about here. And as you can see on screen, I'm able to have a bit of a mess around with all of this sort of stuff. But if you want to do this on the fly while you're actually playing, you've actually got mapped controls for a lot of these things. So down here in the window of the Aruba, you'll see so you've got a lot of control over what you can actually do. So just remember, with things like decay, it can't add to the sample that it's already in there. So if it's a long sample, it can decay for a long time. If it's a short sample, you can't add to it. But things like the drive amount, you can actually dirty up these sounds really well. You can turn on the compressor. So if I do that, have a look on screen and you'll see me changing the compressor or turning it on and off. And of course, 1982 mode means I can turn it on there, or I can turn it on with my mouse up there, much of a muchness, and start messing around quickly with things like change the sample rate way down so it can actually make it sound real dirty. Open it right up so you're actually opening up a filter control there, and that's the sort of depth that you can get out of each individual sample. If you're adding your own samples, same deal. You can do whatever you need to actually make this drum sound as versatile as possible. I'll turn off the 1982. And just remember, if you've put together a rhythm with all of this sort of stuff, you can be doing this stuff on the fly and having a bit of fun creating these controls, creating these effects. And playing around with all of these different functions that you have available to you. Very, very quickly, while we're doing all of this, remember that on this channel, for example, we can actually add an individual insert effect. Over here you can see there's an insert plugin effect there. But if we want to get more involved in the entire kit, of course there are 16 pads we're talking about here, so there's a lot of individual inserting to get an effect. You can actually go over to your mixer page, which is along the top there, the next page along, and there's all your individual bits and pieces, plugins and all the rest of it. But you've got 4 sends, and those 4 sends actually allow you to actually add in more effects. So if you want to add in any of these effect sends and add a reverb effect as like a master reverb, so you've got a send amount to each one of those, that's possible too. And the mixer section, all 16 pads plus some groups, plus if you start adding in any of the sends, you can actually add in the extra effects via those sends. So 4 more channels can be added on into the mixer section alone. That's just to give you an idea of the power that you've got available. And any plugin that you like, you know, I've got a Valhalla Supermassive. Just put that over the one of the like the master send, and have a little bit of reverb on each drum sound, or a lot of reverb, or whatever you want like that. And the same goes for all of the other instruments there. As soon as I hit the kick now, it's another 909 kick, sorry. So you can fatten that up and give it a bit of drive. And you notice once again, color-coded, a couple of variations of snares are in orange there. And so you get the idea of what the DP1 drum player is all about. And to go to the next step, I'll go down to another track and open up Nektarine again. And this time you'll see a little bit of a different screen, because now we're dealing with the electronic drums. So the K1 is a kick synthesizer. The S1 is a snare synthesizer. The T1 is a tom synthesizer. And this is where you start getting into creating sounds with all of those old style Simmons drums and things like that. And I've put a Supermassive kind of big kick there. I'll show you a little bit more about that one later. But same as what we were dealing with the DP1 player, my important functions are now all up in this corner here, so I can make it a noise hit. I can actually turn it into a much lower deal. Now, because it is a synthesizer rather than just a sample, I've got that one open. I'm going to take a bit of bend out of that. So I've got a second 808-ish kind of long kick there. And each of those parameters we talked about, it's the same deal. If I want to mess with any of these functions going on, all I have to do is activate that particular pad and I've got access to my hi-hats. Now those are actually samples because, as you can see, it is a DP1 player, color-coded green for the closed, mid and fully open, and same deal. Anything you touch, put a bit more bend into it, add a little bit more. So there's a lot of control out of just basically these four little drum modules. There's the, as I said, there's the DP1, which is the drum player or sample player, the K1, the S1, and the T1, which are your kick, snare, and tom synthesizers. So this all comes in the package of Nektarine, which comes with the Aruba and also comes with the Panorama T4 and T6. They're the ones with also have the drum pads on them, so you get that access to that sort of thing there. And that's basically the routine. There's a lot of useful stuff that's going on here. And then going back to your I've programmed up a little bit of a rhythm going on. While I'm here, I'll big long kick in. Oh, sorry, that big long, yeah, synth kick. So you can have a heck of a lot of fun just with messing around with the individual parameters that are available to you for, as I say, the electronic drums, the synth drums, but also there's a lot of control over the DP1, the sample player, with EQs and compressors and decimators and etc. going on there. So there's a lot of different control and very, very, very in-depth control over what we're doing here. Thanks for listening.